We are here today with ACTRA Toronto members, and we should be celebrating, but we're not. Instead, we are acknowledging over 2 years of ACTRA members being locked out of the National Commercial Agreement by the ICA. What that lockout means is our ACTRA Toronto commercial workers have been unable to work, unable to find meaningful employment. All this during an affordability crisis, where I know ACTRAs in Toronto St. Paul's, across our communities, are having to choose between rent and food. They're not happy. I'm not happy. Our Labour critic, MPP Jamie West, who's joining us today from our NDP caucus, isn't happy either. The actors are here today. These performers are workers. They are workers, and they are here today at Queen's Park demanding that the Ford government listen to them, hear how this lockout has hurt their finances, hurt their career perspectives and opportunities, and they're demanding that the government stop using union-busting ad agencies during a labor dispute to essentially undermine these unionized ACTRA commercial workers by replacing them, quote unquote, with replacement workers. This government claims to be working for workers, but I assure you they are not working for ACTRA performers here today. And the 28,000 ACTRA members that are experiencing this lockout. So today we are rising up, and I'm demanding that the Premier, the Minister of Labour, the Culture Minister, the whole Cabinet join us on that lawn of Queen's Park and listen to the stories of actors. Listen to the stories of performers. Listen to the stories of workers who are being screwed by this government and by an employer who seems to have an allergy when it comes to the rights of workers to have collective bargaining rights, to have fair wages, healthy and sound working conditions, pension, benefits. I mean, come on, the basics. So I'm really glad to be joined today, as I said earlier, by Jamie West, our MPP for Sudbury, Kate Ziegler, ACTRA Toronto Vice President and Actor, Asante Tracey, ACTRA Toronto member and actor, and Alistair Hepburn, Executive Director of ACTRA Toronto. We're going to be loud. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. And we are demanding that the Ford government listen up today and help to end this lockout so our performers across our wonderful communities do not have to give up their career. A career, by the way, in the culture industry, which we know was first hit, hardest hit, and last to recover. That's a quote from this government. So appreciate the workers. Appreciate our hardest working gig workers and ensure that they can stay in their industry. First up, I'm going to invite MPP Jamie West to share a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Jamie West. Je suis le député provincial de Sudbury. Morning, everybody. My name is Jamie West. I'm the MPP for Sudbury. I'm also the Labour critic for the Ontario NDP. I want to be as brief as possible because it's important that you hear from these workers firsthand. I want you to hear their stories. I want you to hear how they're impacted and how unjustly this has been to their lives and their careers. My colleague, Dr. Andrew, and I are here today in solidarity with these workers. These are ACTRA Toronto performers. They've been locked out. Excuse me. They've been locked out for over 2 years, 25 months, by the Institute of Canadian Agencies. We are here to bring light to the unionized performers, the thousands of unionized performers that continue to be affected, and as well to the non-unionized replacement workers who are being exploited through this process. We're here to demand that the Conservative government stop using taxpayer dollars to fund government-funded ads by hiring advertising agencies like Leo Burnett and FCB who have locked out these workers. And today I'll be asking the Premier for the fourth time to immediately stop buying government-funded ads from the advertising agencies who have locked out these workers. For 2 years, Doug Ford and the Conservative government have chosen to prop up and fund these advertising agencies. And for 2 years, this has sent a very clear message that Doug Ford and his Conservative government, to this Conservative government, that these Ontario workers don't matter, that pensions don't matter, that benefits don't matter, that fair wages don't matter to Doug Ford and the Conservative government. We're also actively encouraging the parties to return to the bargaining table to resolve this dispute. Then these workers can get back to doing what they love, to contributing to this tremendous industry, and to sharing their talents and creativity with us. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Alistair.
Thank you, MPP West. My name is Alistair Hepburn. I'm the Executive Director of ACTRA Toronto, and today I bring you greetings from ACTRA Toronto President David Gale and the 15,000 professional performers who are the members of ACTRA in Ontario. We'd like to first actually thank Ministers Lumsden, Piccini, Bethlen-Falvey, and Fedeli for the support that they have shown to ACTRA performers since they have taken office. We hosted Minister Lumsden at the 22nd Annual ACTRA Awards in Toronto on April the 22nd. There he spoke of the vital need to support the film and television industry. Today we are here to remind him of that, to continue that support and bring an end to a 2-year-long lockout of ACTRA performers who work in commercials. For 60 years, the National Commercial Agreement has overwhelmingly demonstrated that collective bargaining actually works. For unionized, for precarious performers, it works. We're asking to see those precarious gig workers highlighted under the next Working for Workers Act. Let's work for the workers. We hope to see the necessary amendments to the Ontario Labour Law and updated interpretations of the Employment Standards Act to make it clear that performers and other precarious gig workers have the same rights as any other Ontario worker, and they can rely on the same protections and have recourse to the same dispute resolution process. We are confident that our friends in Minister Piccini's office will continue to work with ACTRA and continue those strong mandates they have shown to keep working for all workers. Collective agreements guarantee fair working conditions, benefits, and competitive pay for Ontario workers. The protection and recognition of these agreements results in the creation of good Ontario jobs and good Ontario taxpayers. It is our skilled and talented workforce that have helped to establish Ontario as a world-class base, drawing industries and corporations from around the world to call this province home. We know that the Minister will agree that it is time for Ontario's legislation to be amended to represent all workers in this province. Thank you for your time. I'd now like to introduce Kate Ziegler, ACTRA Toronto Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, my name is Kate Ziegler, ACTRA Toronto Vice President. In March of 2022, when the lockout started, or the communications reached us as members about the lockout, I just remember being like, what is that going to mean for me? And I feel it's important to start with that. What that has meant for me as a locked out performer is that my income went from strong and stable for the work that I was doing as one of the voices of the lottery in Canada and for the province, to losing all of that work pretty much immediately. As actors, you come to understand that jobs will come and go. It's part of what makes us a resilient workforce. We go from job to job, and we take that as part of the journey. But when the opportunities are also taken away when you lose your job, I think anyone in Ontario will know that in this climate, this economic climate, is just a disaster. I've had to go back to waitressing, which is fine. It's a good job, but also it's not my chosen path. It's been very hard to make a living, enough to pay my mortgage. I just bought a house. I had just bought a house right before the lockout started, something I'm really proud of. as a single woman, being able to take care of myself is, I know, something that has to be important, not just to MPP West and Andrew, but to all of our political leaders. You must look at the importance of helping to protect jobs for all workers, and definitely for single people, women. So 2 years ago, an advertising trade association walked away from our collective agreement, which had provided wage stability, insurance, and RSP contributions for our commercial performers for 60 years. It was a brazen attack on our union. As Alistair said, 15,000 members across the province, and as Jill pointed out, 28,000 members across the country who are dependent on that work to feed and house their families. The reason we're here today is very simple. Agencies of the Government of Ontario have continued to use taxpayer funds to hire agencies, advertising agencies, that have endorsed this unprovoked attack against the members of our union. And this implicates the government in the dispute and sends a message that we don't matter, that we're not worthy of the same rights and protections as constituents who work in the trades, for example. And I know that those unions don't agree. They endorse our demands. We aren't going to sit up here and say that the Government of Ontario has done nothing for the film and television industry. This is not true. But we have to be able to hold both things. We have to be able to say it's wonderful that we're building a $5.4 billion plan to have a bustling film and television industry in the province. And also, over here, we're doing something wrong and we need to fix it. We are thankful to Minister Lumsden, who has already begun looking into this. But after 2 years, our members can't afford to wait. We need the government to step in and throw the weight of the province behind this at the employers who until now have really proceeded without consequence for what amounts to an egregious attack on the province's creative workforce, which, like others have said, is an incredibly precarious group of performers who make a great contribution to the province from a culture perspective, but also just from a labor perspective to the economy. Thank you. This is Asante, Tracey, ACTRA member.
Thank you, Kate. And honestly, a big thank you to each and every one of you. Hearing your words just now is incredibly inspiring, and it fills me with hope. I'm not here as a councillor. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as an actor turned activist, maybe. That I am one of these people that is deeply affected by this lockout. And, you know, I think that certainly the big ask now, and the third and final of ours, is that the government actively work to encourage these deal breakers to get back to the table. Resolve this thing. Let's make things right. Let's bring the jobs back. Let's get people working again. Okay? I started in this business a long time ago. And it's not been easy. Okay? There's been ups, there's been downs, probably a lot more downs than I would have liked. But that's the reality of the situation. It's a tough job. And when things like this happen, it makes it next to impossible. Okay? And when I first started, my agent at the time said to me, you know, commercial work is your bread and butter. Commercial work is how you pay the bills so that you're free to pursue the narrative work, the grander projects, the stuff that really, you know, fuels your passion. The reason you got into this. Now that's gone. That's gone. And, you know, I stand up here as an actor deeply affected by this, but I represent thousands, literally thousands, of other actors, my colleagues, my friends, who their lives have been altered negatively. Their dreams have been snuffed out. And I've had some really tough conversations with these people. And it breaks my heart to see some of my close friends and my colleagues have to give up on the thing that they love to do because, what? We don't want to treat the creative workforce equally? We don't want to give the same rights that are given to so many other different trades? Come on. This government keeps claiming to be about the people. We're for the people. We're for the people. I'm the people. We're all the people. These are the people. My 1,000 colleagues and friends, those are the people. So you know what? My final ask is, stand true to your word. Be for the people. Do something about this. Make it right. Thank you.
Man. Thank you, Asante. And thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Jill.
I think the ACTRA Toronto performers have said it best. There's not much more for me to say. These are performers. They are actors. The government's choices, ICA's choice to walk away from fair negotiations, it is impacting these performers personally, financially, emotionally, and it's taking away their bread and butter. And all we're asking for is for these performers to be seen and heard and listened to by this government. Help get ICA back to the table. Stop propping up these union-busting agencies that are creating ads using replacement workers while Kate wonders if she'll keep her home, while Asante can't pursue narrative work because his bread and butter commercial work is gone, Gone. And as they said up here, they're representing thousands of workers. So thank you. Thank you to ACTRA members for being here today. And there are over a dozen members, allies, supporters that you can't see on camera who are also here. And we're just asking the government to show up. Show up at question period today. Show up with meaningful answers to our questions. And take a moment from lunch at 12 p.m. and step outside and hear from our performers, commercial performers, ACTRA workers, how this illegal, unjust, and frankly inhumane lockout is impacting their lives. Thank you. Any questions?
Definitely a few dumb ones from me. Is there like a spark notes on what happened 2 years ago? I don't know if you guys kind of gave it and I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure on what happened.
Okay, I'll ask Alistair to jump on in.
Yes, so 60-year-long collective agreement, bargaining history. And 2 years ago, the ICA, the Institute of Canadian Agencies, decided to end that bargaining and walk away from the bargaining table. They at that point in time, they put a lockout in place that locked out performers. And as Kate said, immediately overnight, jobs disappeared. They went non-union, started underpaying, and just cut ACTRA performers out of the equation. So it was we'd been in bargaining for over a year, and they decided that they were finished with that and walked away.
Do you want to speculate on why that happened?
Because we were unwilling to acquiesce to a 60% cut in wages and the ability for them to opt in and opt out of a commercial, of a collective agreement. They wanted to be able to use professional performers when they wanted and to use replacement workers at other times.
Sorry, when you say commercial, like to a layman like me, that just means like 2-minute spots.
Commercials.
Okay, so
that is it. We are talking about commercials. Yeah.
when you guys say things like, you want the government to throw your weight behind this, I'm wondering maybe if the MPPs would also want to jump in on this. What are we just talking like, Doug going out and saying, hey, you should get back to the table, or a little bit more kind of concrete state action?
Yeah, I think I use that sentence to sort of illustrate this thing that I want, which is I want someone to just pick up the phone. Like, I want the Minister of Labor to go, I'm alarmed by this. This has been on my desk for 2 years. I'm alarmed. I'm going to call these agencies, some of these brands, and see if we can get them to work together again. I need that to happen in order for us to stabilize the workforce. So that's what I mean by throwing their weight behind this. And to, like, our MPP West and Andrew are here, but like to create a bubble of support around the workforce that has really been just drowning for the last 2 years trying to cobble together an income. It's like we need that support from the government to, I think, compel these agencies and the brands that they hire or that hire them to come back to the table and work out a fair deal for us. 60%. I mean, 60%. The median income of an actor performer is like $15,000. We're not talking about like the 2% of really wealthy performers that you might think of. We're talking about like tradespeople, like entertainment tradespeople that go from job to job. If you had 4 commercials on air in 2021, that combined with a few other things is probably a stable income. You take those four commercials away, or like in my case, like maybe 20 or 30 spots that I was the voice of over a course of a year, you take that away, it just it decimates your income. Like there's just nothing. So one of the big things that the agencies also want is the ability to buy out performers. They don't want to have to pay residuals. But residuals are the lifeblood of performers. You get conflicted out when you do certain jobs. If you are the voice or the face of a bank, you can't go and then work for another bank. So you're really dependent on that residual piece in order to continue to see some benefit for the labor you've contributed.
Another way they can help, and today I'll be asking for the 4th time for the Conservative government to stop buying government-funded ads. We know it may be the highest ever, the amount of these sort of partisan ads where they talk about Imagine Ontario, but they're just fluff pieces for what the Conservative government is doing. They're spending a fortune on advertising, and government has always bought advertising. What they're doing is choosing to use the ad agencies that have locked out these workers. And so on the one hand, they'll say, I can't get involved in negotiations, but on the other hand, what they're doing is saying, well, we can funnel millions and millions of dollars to these corporations. And so there's that expression that when you're sitting on the fence, your backside faces somebody. They're pretending they're sitting on the fence, but very clearly their backside is facing these actual workers. And so if they would choose not to use these advertising agencies, it would send a strong message to them that the government of Ontario is supporting these workers. And it's not like they can't get their ads somewhere else. They can. They're just choosing to continue to use these advertising agencies are trying to take 60% of the money out of these workers' pockets.
Do you know which ads we're talking about, and like how much has been spent, or any kind of more firm details around that?
Yeah, I mean the first one we can talk about is the Metrolinx, the 4 Metrolinx spots that were recently pulled. We know that there was a $2.5 million spend on those using non-union performers. But Metrolinx, OLG, Destination Ontario are 3 of the agencies of the Government of Ontario that we would love for them to look back at us and remind themselves of why they want professional performers in their commercials.
Do you know if any of the other political parties, including the NDP, are using these agencies?
I do not have an answer on that question. I would certainly hope not, considering that we are a party that strongly believes in unionized work. I would not see the NDP supporting replacement workers during a labor dispute. I would also like to say that Bill 90 is another opportunity for the government to stand up and show support for workers. The NDP, tabled, I believe, by our Labour critic, has long been calling for anti-scab legislation to protect workers from situations just like this. The government is a majority government, and they have the power to make these decisions happen overnight. Just like how they decided to invest $2.5 million in Metrolinx ads, right, to essentially gaslight and laugh at residents in my community as well of St. Paul's, who have been dealing with over 13 years of construction delays with Metrolinx. That's not the way we use taxpayer funds. Thank you.
I guess last thing from me would be, has there been any movement in the last 2 years?
Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah,
please?
I mean, so we came and met with Minister Lumsden last week, actually. It was a great meeting. And one of the things I told him is, like, there actually is a roadmap for this, for bringing the agencies back, because it happened at the federal level. So the federal government was using an advertising agency and through various tactics of having members and some of our leaders go and talk to the Minister of Procurement, I think, about that, and some media coverage. That agency did come back to working with ACTRA. They came back on their own, and the last I heard is that they're quite happy. I actually just did a commercial for Cassette. I think it's for the Olympics coming up. So that immediately put jobs back into performers' hands and pocketbooks. And that is the other thing. Like, if they were able to look at that model and go, okay, we can do that as well, it would immediately bring relief to the membership. Like, immediately put jobs back in all of our pockets. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. There's no questions online? Okay. Thank you very much for coming. This concludes the press conference.